Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, resident / of / Collinwood for BitChute, and I'm here to continue my revisited tour of John Philip Betancourt's continuing blog series, The Return of Dark Shadows. I don't know why that cut off. Series 2, Chapter 6, 2 Spells. It was mid-morning now. The chaos had subsided, and Victor's body had been removed from the grounds at Collinwood in the late hours by the coroner's office. Kimberly was beside herself and in utter shock. The mission had failed, and Victor was dead. She looked at herself in the mirror, dressed in all black, thinking that things could have been different for everyone had she not listened to Victor at all those years ago and experimented on Christopher. Kim fastened the top button that her black blouse had made her way to her bedroom and made her way to her bedroom door. As she opened it, there stood Carolyn awaiting her. "Carolyn," Kimberly said, surprised to see her. Carolyn's hands were clasped in front of her. Her blue eyes, focused on her face, was stone cold. She was still not pleased to be sharing her room with the woman who cheated on her cousin David and had caused him to leave to parts unknown. Carolyn had a very bad feeling about Kim, but despite it knew she needed to keep her enemies close. "What was he doing here last night?" she asked straight away. "What?" Kimberly said, stalling. "Don't play games with me. Why was Victor Reed here last night? And why do I have this sickening feeling you're behind all of this? Why do I feel you know more about that thing that I saw at my door than you're leading on?" Carolyn accused. "That's really typical of you, Carolyn," pointing the finger at someone else. "I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what Victor was doing here. For all I know, he was here looking for Chris, who was with your daughter last night," Kimberly said with a bold-faced lie as she pushed Carolyn aside to let herself pass. As Kimberly went past, Carolyn grabbed her arm and spun her back around to face her. If you had anything to do with any of this, I swear you'll regret the day you came back to Collinsport and set foot on Collinwood. I will make sure of it, Kimberly. Don't test me. You're so sure of yourself. What is it? What do you think I'm doing here? I have 2 sons who live here, Carolyn. I'd do anything to be with them again. I've made mistakes. I get it. But I'm going to right them, whether you like it or not," Kimberly said, still caught in Carolyn's grasp. "I feel sorry for Christopher. I really do. I don't know what kind of relationship he has with you, but I do know what you did to Caleb and how hurt he was when you left him as a child without even a goodbye. And then David left. Caleb's whole world was destroyed because of you," Carolyn continued. "You know, I have a feeling a lot of the things that have been happening around here lately didn't start when I came back to town. When did you come back again?" "When your husband disappeared," Kimberly said with a veiled insinuation. "Jack's disappearance had nothing to do with me," Carolyn argued back. "Not you. This whole family. This whole cursed place. Do you think I don't know of all the curious and strange secrets the Collins family hold? Everyone knows, Carolyn. There's no sense in pretending that none of this isn't normal to you. Kim shot back. You don't know what you're talking about. Face it, no one is safe here. No one, and until we remove the darkness that haunts this place, no one will ever be safe, Kim said. And just what exactly do you plan on doing? Carolyn questioned. Kimberly only looking at Carolyn with a fierce look in her eyes. She was determined to continue the cleansing of the horrible Collins curse no matter how hard Carolyn wanted to stop her. Their relationship was never good, but now it seemed that there was no turning back. Carolyn huffed and released Kimberly from her grasp and marched down the hall to her own bedroom, slamming the door behind her. Kimberly stood alone, thinking of her next step. Now that she was working alone, her only option was finding Christopher before anyone else did. By this time, he must already know what was going on and who was involved. She had to find him and keep the secret. Amid the chaos in the main house, there was an even more interesting exchange in a patch of land behind the old house, where Leopold was living. Christopher lay naked and shivering in the grass, the effects of the serum shot in his bloodstream to change him into a werewolf wearing off. He had survived the night. His own father, Victor, turned him into a werewolf, but Victor did not. Poor little thing. They don't understand you, do they? They don't really know what to do with you. I saw everything there was to see, and I can be the one to help you. I can be the one to save you. Just listen to my voice, said a breathy female voice that stood above Chris' naked body, now covered by the bottom of a thick red cloak. Chris opened his eyes slight and squinted. Standing above him in the same blood-red cloak he was wrapped in was a beautiful sorceress, Claudia Bouchard. Freshly released from her sarcophagus prison Leopold had subjected her to. Who are you? Chris said, faintly covering himself with her cloak. I'm here to protect you, Claudia's voice said in a soothing tone. What? Christopher said, confused and cold, as he was interrupted. I'm the only one who can protect you, Christopher. I'm the one who understands. Claudia caught it over Chris's body. What do you want from me? Chris asked. Claudia knelt down close to Chris. She combed his wet hair back as he shivered and shyly tried to cover his exposed body. Don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared of, she whispered, her eyes meeting his. There was a connection that she felt with him, a kinship. They both had mothers who, at various times, were up to no good. They both had fathers who were trapped between good and evil. She felt like together they could be something. Together they could take control of everything around them. The kiss they shared when she was in Alexander's body was like a lightning bolt zooming through her body like nothing she had ever felt. Claudia slowly bent down, closer and closer. Her lips got to his, and just before they touched, a vocal interruption just outside the circle. Enough, Claudia! Leopold exclaimed, appearing out of thin air and walking up to the two. Claudia quickly stood up with a wave of her magical hand, frozen time all around them, only allowing Leopold and herself to move within it. Step away or I'll kill him, she hissed, her voice now menacing and evil. I should have known. You'd somehow figure your way out of that cemetery. Of all the years we were together, you could always convey your way out of anything. connive your way out of anything. Leopold quipped, the memories of the real Leopold flowing into his mind of his life with Claudia and her previous indiscretions. Do you think you know me? Haven't you figured anything out by now? Claudia said, a sarcastic laugh. I created you, you fool. Every memory you have belongs to my one-time love, Leopold. They're not yours. You're just a toy, a creation that I can destroy at any time I want to. So don't start getting brave with me, Leopold. You're not real. You're a twisted hybrid of two men meant to destroy Carolyn, that's all, Claudia said, ripping into Leopold. What's your obsession with her? Why are you at Collinwood haunting this family? Leopold questioned. Claudia paused to weigh her options, tell the truth of her Collins family connection, which she had just discovered herself, or keep it all a secret until the right moment. The unfinished business I have goes further than I actually knew, Leopold, and I have you to thank for that, Claudia said, now circling Leopold like a shark, sizing up its prey. How? He asked as she stepped over Christopher's frozen-in-time body. While you trapped me away, I was still able to release my soul and enter the body of Alexander Thorne, Claudia said, condescendingly referring to Jack's beloved daughter, knowing Leopold still had a soft spot for her. She's the most innocent soul I've seen in decades. Through her, I discovered who I was, and you'll be very pleased to know that Collinwood just so happens to be the home where I was always meant to be. Barnabas Collins, in fact, is my father. The home is mine. And just as quick as Caleb dropped the bomb of her true, as quick as Claudia dropped the bomb of her true parental to a gobsmacked Leopold, she snapped of her fingers and flung her blood-red cloak, wrapping it around her entire body. As the cloak covered and swirled around her body, it caved into itself, and Claudia was gone. Time then began again. The frosty air blew over Christopher's shivering body. Leopold picked him up and swung him over his shoulder and carried him into the old Collinwood home, where he was staying away from the main house with the rest of the family. With the revelation that Claudia was a Collins, too, and not just any Collins, the daughter of the greatest vampire that had ever lived, Leopold felt deep in his dark soul that there would much more to come from the wicked witch Claudia Bouchard, and that the first time in a long time he felt a human emotion, fear. Back inside the main house, Caleb and Alexander sat in the half-reconstructed main sitting room, where the walls were painted a deep red. Alex was still unsure of where Christopher was and if he was even still alive. Her fear was that someone would notice he was missing and start to put two and two together and figure out he was the monster from the night before. Indeed, Alexander had changed since her possession by Claudia. She saw things clearer. She felt things before they happened. She knew things before anyone else knew them. As she and Caleb spoke, it was as if she could hear their conversation in her head before it ever even happened. She knew this must have been a residual effect left by Claudia. Her abilities seemed to be getting stronger by the day. She had a deep connection now to Claudia and could feel her. They were now tied together by a single mind, Everything Claudia knew, Alex now knew. And everything Alex knew, Claudia took possession of when she entered her body. As Alex kept her new ability secretly hidden, she and Caleb made small talk about the night before. As they did, Kate walked in with the missing persons form she was given at the police station, with the man who Leopold killed to cover up his transformation from Jack to his new identity. "You're here early," Caleb said, pouring a cup of coffee. "I actually had something I needed to show you last night before everything happened, and I feel like if I don't get to this now, something even worse will happen, and I never will," Kate explained, going into her inside jacket pocket and pulling out the paper. Alexander, with her now powers, knew exactly what was on the paper before it was unfolded and stood up quickly to intercept it. "Is this police business?" Alex said, stalling Caleb from opening the paper to read it. "In a way, yes. It is, yes," Kate said, surprised at Alex's outburst. "Do you think, then, we should have some sort of representation?" Alex said, now taking the paper away from Caleb's hand. Caleb looked at Alex confused. Alex's only objective was to stall Kate so that she could tell Caleb what Kate had with her. They needed time to come up with a different story as soon as they could. "All I want is for you to look at this paper, that's all. And once you do, maybe you or anyone can shed some light on it," Kate said, hinting that she knew more than they knew she did. Caleb grabbed the paper back from Alex, and suddenly, as if instinct, Alex lifted her hand in front of Kate's face and closed her eyes and shouted out loud, "A window into the mind I go, phasing out everything you know. Let lies be truths without our walls. Listen to my voice as it calls." Caleb looked over at Alex, shocked. Even Alex seemed surprised at her actions. Kate closed her eyes and shook her head. All of a sudden she felt dizzy, and the room went into a haze. She opened her eyes, and everything was different. Kate's mind seemed to be blank. She had the feeling that she was forgetting her thought mid-sentence. "Are you okay?" Alex cautiously tested. Yeah, that was weird. I got dizzy for a second," she replied. "Here, why don't you have some water instead of coffee? Have a seat," Caleb said, ushering Kate over to a sofa, totally confused of what just happened. Kate mentioned nothing about other papers she had just handed him. She then went over and sat down on one of the new sofas that had come in to replace the one that burned in the fire. "The room is coming along nicely, isn't it?" Kate said, sipping the water anyway. "The coroner looked at Victor's body just before I came here. I got a call from him. They're saying some sort of mountain lion must have got to him." Caleb stepped aside and opened the paper and saw the missing persons form with the face of the man Leopold killed and passed off as Jack. A sense of relief washed over him, and then he looked over at his cousin Alex, who herself felt a bit of relief her spell had worked. "What the hell is going on?" Caleb whispered to Alex as Kate continued to sip her coffee and look over some of the repairs on the other side of the room. "Do you know what she was bringing here?" He continued, carefully folding the missing person and hiding it in his pocket. "I don't know exactly what's happening to me anymore, but Caleb, I've changed somehow. I can see things. I can hear things. It was that woman, that Claudia,
aunt, she entered me and I don't know, she changed me, she said in a similar hushed tone. But how did you make her forget what was on this paper? He asked again, making sure Kate still didn't hear him. All that matters is that it worked, Alex replied. Leopold's true identity was safe. Alex had thwarted off Kate's continuous questioning for now. But Alex, being a novice when it comes to the strength of her newly found powers, didn't know how just how long any of it would last. Inside the old Collinwood mansion where Leopold was living sat a vampire and his mortal enemy, the werewolf, surrounded in darkness, and only the light of candles was allowed to touch their faces. Leopold had no idea what he was going to do with Christopher, but he was going to do with no idea what he was going to do with Christopher, but he knew he had to keep him there before anyone could find him. He had to know how he was created without a full moon. Christopher, however, was knocked out cold from the night before and had only woken for a minute outside while with Claudia. Leopold paced back and forth while Christopher slept, trying to figure out what was happening around him and if the werewolf was really sent for him and not Victor. As Leopold contemplated and Christopher slept, he suddenly sensed the same peculiar sensation he felt from Kate that he felt from the night at the Blue Whale pub. He leaned over and made sure Christopher was out cold, then grabbed his jacket to make his way over to the main house. Kat, and her constant prodding needed to be dealt with before she got too close. As Leopold dashed off, Claudia watched from the darkened corner of the room where no one could see her. She knew that her life was at stake. Now that Leopold was aware that she had escaped the sarcophagus in the cemetery, her plot to seek revenge on the Collins family for Barnabas' sins beginning to feel misguided. Barnabas was the one who killed her mother, Angelique. Barnabas was the one who took Claudia away as a baby and placed her in an orphanage so far back that in time that no one would find her, even if they tried. It was clever. Now Barnabas was the one person who could pay for what he did, and not the rest of the family. He was the cause of all her suffering, so he could be the one to deal with. Claudius slid away unnoticed in the room where Leopold and Christopher sat by candlelight. She made her way to an even darker, empty room where she removed her red cloak. Claudia made a circle in the center of the room on the wooden floor and stood transfixed inside of it. She closed her eyes and whispered a spell. To another time I go forth and find the man I call Father. Time rewind, for he is the one I seek answers of. Let me find him, left, right, down, and above. Claudia's body began to glow so bright it lit up the entire room. She started to feel herself lift and spin in a circle, faster and faster and faster, until she was completely filled by the light. Then, as the ball of light expanded and she went in, she was gone, leaving only the red cloak on the floor. Alright, that was... Sorry, I gotta make sure I get the title. Go back up and get the title for... I'm going to do another video. That was Series 2, Chapter 6, 2 Spells, written by John Philip Betancourt. This is his blog, The Return of Dark Shadows. Here's my review of this. You know,
Barnabas is a coming, and that's a good thing. I think the fact that John waited so long to bring Barnabas into the fold was a good thing. You have mentions, and I will get into this, further down the line with him bringing Barnabas back. But I think everything gets segued so well, Claudia is such a key piece to the Barnabas storyline, to bringing Barnabas into, into the next series and into the next set of chapters. You have Christopher and Alex's somewhat relationship. Now you have Claudia, who's trying to get Chris under her spell, and Leopold has put Chris in the old house. You have Victor, who's dead from the actions of Victor and Kimberly, making Chris transform into the werewolf without the full moon by using the serum that Kimberly had made. Kimberly being a doctor was revealed the last one I read, so I really, really enjoy these characters. I think he does such a wonderful job getting them over, and just, they're amazing. I mean, think about it. You have Christopher, you have Alex, you have Caleb, you have Jack Thorne, you have Claudia. Those are 5 new characters just alone. And then you have Kate. There's a 6th one. You have Loomis McGovern. There's a 7th one. Victor Reed, who's an 8th one. Here's what I love the most about this series. Not just the way it's written, because it's very well written. It's very well done. But the fact that you get, yes, you do get old characters. You obviously Carolyn, and you get the mentions of other older characters: Elizabeth, David, Barnabas. But here's the thing: when the older characters are mentioned, to keep everybody in mind of where your older characters are sort of coming from, and also sort of your new characters and what their relationship is with them. And that's something that is so well done by the writer of this series. It's really, really great. He does a great job with this. But the one thing I love here is the new characters. They're not just bait for something. They're actually here for something. These aren't just characters that are being thrown away, new characters that are just being thrown away for this or that. They're integrated into the storylines. Each has a purpose with one another. And that is what Dark Shadows damn well should be. I've said this to John many, many times. If the series comes to life, if the series comes to TV, whenever they bring out a new Dark Shadows to TV, I hope they do half the job he did, let alone the full job he did on this blog, because it has been magnificently done. I mean, when I first started reading this, I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. And I can't remember whoever first sent this link to me originally. John here sent me this link that I'm reading now, but when I was first on Twitter under my old name, which was LO3, it was Joel Sains, but I didn't, that's what I put it as. But when I was on Twitter originally, I said, I wish there was a new Dark Shadows. And somebody sent me the link to his blog. I forget who it was. I can't think for the life of me. It was somebody. I can't think who, though. And then I started reading, and I'm like, God damn, this is really good. I gotta review this. And it is. It's just so well done. I never stopped being impressed by what he has done with this, even going back now. And people, you would think I would, but no. I'm not. It's amazing what he's done. And I cannot wait till March 9th, guys. I'm so excited. I'm going to read another one here. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. I did like Alex's first spell. Alex's first spell, this just makes me think of the thing she was doing by the end of the series. You know, she didn't really mean to with this part. She's like, I don't know what's going on with me. And Caleb's like, girl, what the hell? Caleb and Alexander, cousins they may be, but they're a lot like brother and sister. They have a very good connection, and you can sense that too by the way they're written. Alright, that's my review of this one. I know I'm taking long because I'm reading these, so, and I don't know why that's coming up there, but I'm getting all, okay, never mind. Alright, link will be in the description box for the blog for this day. Hope you guys enjoy this review. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to turn around and read another one after I get this uploaded.